Hey guys, I hope you're all doing really well. Today I'm really excited to share with you my makeup inventory. It has been highly requested as of late to share with you guys a makeup collection or my makeup inventory, and I will link in the cards as well as in my description box my makeup collection video so you can check out how I store my makeup. But today we're actually going to be talking about more specifics. So I have written down each category of my makeup collection and photographed each category, and then I'm going to share with you guys what the numbers are and share with you all the photos so you can see every single makeup item that I own. And if you have any questions about specific items, leave them down in the comments. Let me know if you want to see anything in action. I can definitely try to do that for you, but today I just wanted to go over my entire makeup inventory. I feel like this was a really great exercise for me personally because I have been kind of shifting my mentality about purchasing makeup or like adding more makeup to my collection. I feel like I don't really want to have so much packaging in my life. I don't want to have items that are shipped like one by one. I just don't really crave that kind of consumerism anymore, or that kind of like purchasing behavior in my life anymore. That's due to in part the fact that I am a student now and my budget is extremely limited, but I think I'm just noticing that with not just my makeup collection but a huge change in my view about my life as well, like clothing and kitchen goods and all that kind of stuff. I just don't really want to acquire a lot of stuff. So this was a great practice because I did go through and declutter my makeup collection recently and got rid of some expired items and things that I just don't want to use, things that aren't working for me. And yet I still have a lot of makeup. I can see here I have, yeah, like some categories are a little bit out of hand. So anyways, I'll give you a little bit of insight as I talk about each category, but let's just hop right on into all of the numbers. So the first category I have to talk about is primers. I have 13 primers altogether. This does include sample and deluxe size items. I personally just decided that it made sense for me to count those as independent items because they are different formulas and they are things that are taking up space in my collection that I can get use out of. So some of those I can work through very quickly. I do have two full sizes that are also like on their last legs. They're nearly done. They're both in project pans. So this category definitely will go down eventually. I do not need 13 primers in my life. I do not need this many primers by any means. I don't know how I've managed to just like acquire them. Why it's fun for me to continually purchase primers, I do not know, but I will definitely eventually work my way through them, minimize that category for sure. The next category is tinted moisturizer, and I only have 3 in that category. I wouldn't mind seeing this category go up eventually because I am preferring tinted moisturizers on my complexion as of late. They just don't sink into my fine lines near as much. They're a little bit easier. I don't have to set them down. They don't give me a huge amount of like cakey coverage. They're just so much easier. So as I minimize my foundation category, which I'm going to talk about in a moment, I will then in turn actually purchase tinted moisturizers in place of those, but I don't find that I'm feeling like any sense of urgency to add any more to my collection at the moment. And as for foundations, I also included my lightning drops from the Body Shop just because that is like a foundation mixer kind of product. I have 11 foundations. Again, some of these are more like deluxe size samples or sample sizes that came with Sephora orders. Realistically, I think out of all of my foundations, they are generally pretty full and they are gonna take some time for me to work through them. And like I said, my preference isn't fuller coverage foundations, and most of these are medium to full coverage. And I just don't really have a need for that. Now, one of these foundations I haven't yet opened up. It is the Tarte Found Sealer. I haven't opened it yet, so I don't know how I feel about that formula at all. But once I work my way through maybe 1 or 2 more foundations, I will then open that one up so that I can familiarize myself with that formula. It's kind of fun for me actually if I have multiple products within a category to leave some unused so that it's a motivator to finish up what I already have, and then I don't have to purchase anything new in the future either. When I feel like, oh, I finished something, I can replace it. Well, I already have a replacement within my collection, and that's really the only category where I do that is like primers and foundations. But there's a couple other categories here that I can talk about, products that are unopened in my collection as well. Okay, so let's move on. The next category I want to talk about is pressed powders. I only have 3 pressed powders, 2 of which are relatively close to being used up. The Essence and the Milani are both like closer to using up. The Charlotte Tilbury is not really all that used. I love all 3 of these powders, however, they all kind of serve different purposes. And yeah, I'm a fan of all 3. I don't have a problem with having those 3. That is a great number for me in comparison to back in the past. I would have like 5 to 6 pressed powders in my collection. And that's because I had very oily skin. Now that my skin type has changed, 3 is more than enough, and I'm really happy with where this category stands. And then in terms of loose powder, however, that number is way more significant. I have 8 loose powders. Some of these are minis, and some of these are more tailored towards like setting under the eyes or versus like for the face. So they do have different purposes, but 8 is just far too out of hand. I do not need 8 loose powders. I do have a ton of powder to work my way through, especially considering my preference for powder has definitely minimized. I only set under my eyes and around my smile lines now. I don't really tend to use powder all across my whole face, but that's okay. That is a category that I know I will minimize in time, and it's not something that I will eventually end up like continually replacing, but I'll just try to have maybe 1 to 2 loose powders on hand eventually. But that's a long-term goal for me for sure. And when it comes to setting sprays, I have 5 setting sprays. I'm totally okay with this number. I know that that seems maybe like a lot, but each of my setting sprays has a different purpose. Some of these are actually finishing sprays, not setting sprays, like the Mario Badescu I use as a finishing spray, but it actually is technically a skincare product. And the Cover FX is the high performance. I love that one because it does offer a lot more longevity to my makeup, but I use that only so infrequently that I am not like opposed to having that in my collection at all. I'm actually quite happy with where that category stands. 5 is totally fine by me. For powder bronzers, I actually have 8 powder bronzers. Now, I honestly had anticipated that I had a lot more bronzers because bronzers are my preference when it comes to color complexion products. I don't tend to love blush as much as I love bronzer, but I have only 8 bronzers. I'm totally okay with that number. Some of those are just minis, so I know I can work my way through those. I like cover my entire face in bronzer. I love to just go hard in bronzer, so 8 is totally fine. I'm totally cool with that, but I know I don't need to really acquire more because 8 is still a substantial number. It gives me a ton of variety, and yeah, I'm totally cool with that. And when it comes to liquid and cream bronzers, however, I only have 2. One of these is the First Aid Beauty Concealer. Actually, I use it exclusively as a bronzer. That color obviously is far too deep for my complexion, but I did purchase it with the intention of using it as a cream bronzer. I love the way that that looks on the face, as well as the Milk one. Those are just the best 2 cream bronzers. I have no need to purchase any others. Definitely my preferences for cream bronzer have gone up. Like I definitely am preferring cream bronzer over powder as of late, but I love my powders just as much. I just feel like with the cold seasons and my skin getting far more dry, and the fact that I don't set my face either, I really just do tend to gravitate towards those 2 liquid bronzers, and they're gonna last me for quite some time. So yeah, I'm happy with that category as it stands. And as for powder blushes, I also have 8 powder blushes. Now 2 of those are just sample sizes from Buxom, but I did count them as independent blushes because they are 2 different colors. They're 2 different looks entirely. I'm totally fine with this blush category. I am not going to purchase a blush for quite some time because it takes me forever to work my way through blush because I don't actually wear blush on an everyday basis, and I have no need for any more. I feel like I have all of my bases covered when it comes to my blush collection. And actually, I was considering purchasing the Hourglass Ghost palette. I thought about it for so long, but considering that it has 2 blushes in there and I just do not need to acquire any more blushes, that was the deciding factor against purchasing that palette for me. As much as I want to play with that palette and try out all of the other products in their ambient lighting palette, I just couldn't justify adding 2 more blushes to my collection. So yeah, I'm totally fine with where that stands, and I have no desire to add any more. Now when it comes to liquid and cream blushes, however, I have only 4, and this is definitely where my blush preference is going as well. I'm just loving lighter products. I'm loving creamy products, especially because my skin is changing. It's becoming far more dry, it is aging, all that kind of stuff. So For cream blushes, I'm totally fine with that number. It might eventually end up going up if I can declutter a couple of my blushes, or I can use up a few of my powder blushes, but I will only replace those in time as I work my way through the remainder of my blush collection. I counted all of my pans of highlighter, and that includes the cream highlighter, so my Super Shock Cheek highlighters from Colourpop, those I considered in the pans, as well as my Stila. I have a Heaven's Hue, which is more of a cream texture, but I counted these together because they're all actually like contained within a pan. So I have 25 pans of highlighter in my collection, which I feel like is just an insane number. I did not realize I had that many or that much selection. Next year I'd like to try to finish off maybe 2 to 3 of my highlighters. I'm not sure if that is even an attainable goal at all, but yeah, I'd like to finish off a couple because 25 is a huge number. I haven't added any new highlighters to my collection for quite some time. I did have a friend who decluttered that Heaven's Hue highlighter and passed it off to me, but I feel like that's the only one that I've added to my collection within 2019 that I can recall, and so that's just insane. Oh, and the Revolution palette, I did do a makeup swap with Undercover Panner on Instagram, and she sent me that in the swap, so that is maybe why my number is so high, is because of that palette, because otherwise I only have like small one of pans. But yeah, 25 pans of highlighter is insane. I'd like to get that number down eventually, but I'm not unhappy with the selection that I have because I do rotate through them pretty frequently. Like even though I am panning one of my highlighters right now, it doesn't mean that I only use that one exclusively. I really do tend to reach into my collection and make sure that I'm playing with all of my highlighters. But yeah, that number is insane. I do not need 25 highlighters. No one needs 25 highlighters. Like, that's just crazy to me. But yeah, that's just where it stands right now. So in terms of liquid highlighters, now I did include that Tarte Rainforest of the Sea, the highlighting drops or whatever, in this category because I didn't necessarily think to put it in my primer category, even though that's the way that I use it, but it is marketed more as like a liquid highlighting product, so I have that in there. But I have 4 liquid highlighters altogether. 2 of these I haven't yet opened, 2 of the minis, and all 3 of the actual liquid highlighters that I have are minis, so I don't have a problem with this number at all. In terms of liquid highlighters, they aren't my preference, but I haven't really played around with any of these quite enough to really know if I love liquid highlighters yet or not. But yeah, 4 is more than enough. I do have quite some variety between all of these. One is more icy, one is more like a natural kind of tone, and then the other one's more golden. And then I have those Tarte highlighting drops that I'm still figuring out how to use, to be honest. But anyways, yeah, that number I'm totally fine with. It's just the pans of highlighter in comparison that I just feel like that's an insane number, but I'm gonna try to work my way through a couple of those next year. I somehow skipped over my concealers, so I want to talk about that before I move into more of the like color cosmetics in terms of like lips and eyes. And for concealers, I have actually merged my concealers and color correctors together because I use these both like in the same time of my makeup application. I suppose that's why I did it. I could have done one color corrector and one concealer category, but just for ease, I merged them together. And I have 10 concealers and color correctors all together. I do have a couple concealers that are on their last legs, so they are working their way out of my collection fairly soon. That the Josie Maran Argan one is already almost gone. I just took out the stopper a couple days ago and there's not a lot of product left in there at all. I haven't opened up that Makeup Revolution concealer, partially because it looks so gray in the tube to me, so I'm not really sure how I'm going to use it, but maybe once I work my way through my Pixie Correction Concentrate, I might end up opening up that Revolution one and trying to use it more like a color corrector. I'm honestly not too sure how I'm gonna make that one work for me. That was, again, one that was sent to me from Undercover Panner through our makeup swap, so I haven't even opened that, even though I've had it for almost a full year, which is insane. I don't know. But concealer, I was feeling like I had a ton of concealers in my collection earlier on in this year, and it was feeling like really daunting, actually, the amount that I had. But Recently, I've worked my way through several of my concealers, not through project panning, just because I'm feeling motivated to use them up. And so I'm really concentrating on like one at a time. And so that number I know is going to go down eventually, and I'm totally okay with where it's at the moment actually as well. Okay, so let's move into more of the fun stuff. This is the stuff that I personally get the most joy out of when it comes to my makeup collection. And I want to talk about lip liner first. This is a category that I'm not too concerned about at all. I only have 6, and I don't have any duplicate shades at all in that category of my makeup collection, so I'm totally fine with having 6 lip liners, totally cool with it. I might end up working my way through a couple of those in the next year, but yeah, that's not something that concerns me at all. For this next category, I actually merged my lip glosses and tinted lip balms all together because they kind of offer the same sort of look on the lips, and I have 17 altogether. 3 of these are those little blister packs from Buxom, so those are like single to maybe 3 use products, so I should be able to work those through or out of my collection relatively quickly. But I still have 14 mostly full-size lip glosses in my collection, but I don't have an issue with that because, again, my preference is going towards wearing just like a lip gloss on my lips. It's just nice and easy. It feels really hydrating, really comfortable, and it does give my lips a little bit more of a plump look as opposed to like an aged kind of look, which some matte lips can do. And the next category is more so where my preference is leaving from, and that's liquid lips. I do have some really fun colors within this collection, or within this category in my collection, but I do have 16 liquid lipsticks, and I feel like that number is just far too large, especially because I am not preferring liquid lips. The way that they feel on my lips I don't like as much. The application process is just far too tedious for me. I used to love liquid lips. I used to love them so much, but I would like to work my way through a couple of these in the next year. The Kat Von D Mini specifically is the one I know I'm going to be panning like right from the start of the year, and otherwise, yeah, that category I don't think is going to grow all that much. There are some formulas that I really like. I do really like the Colourpop Ultra Satin Lips formula, so eventually if I do feel like I'm missing certain colors in my lipstick collection, I may end up purchasing some in that formula just for those more deep, bold shades that I do need a little bit more precision with. But for the immediate future, I do not have any desire to purchase any more liquid lipsticks. On the opposite end of the spectrum, the lipstick category that I do just prefer the most is bullet lipsticks. And you can tell that I prefer these the most because I have 41 bullet lipsticks in my collection. Only 2 of these are minis, everything else is full size, and that's just, or maybe 3 of them are minis. I cannot remember. I only have a handful of minis. Literally all of the rest of them are full size bullet lipsticks, and that's just so much. I feel like that is just way more than I ever expected. When I look at my collection, it doesn't feel like it's that many lipsticks, but yeah, that's just insane. And considering I typically lately have just been wearing nudes on an everyday basis, there's no need for me to have this many lipsticks, but maybe next year I'll try to pan a couple of my bolder lipsticks. I don't know. This is just crazy. Yeah, 41 is just insane, and I'm not proud of that number at all. And I'm happy, actually, this exercise of going back and looking through my collection and counting the numbers is really healthy for me, because I am definitely most drawn to purchasing lipsticks over anything else because they're small, they're fun to try new formulas, but 41 lipsticks is more than enough variety for me to play with and shop my stash within. So yeah, 41 lipsticks is just bonkers if you ask me. And then lip primers, I have 2. I am currently panning one in my Project Pan Roulette, and then the other one I will just like rotate into getting used after I use up the other one. Lip primers are not an essential for me. Don't know why I have 2, don't have any need for 2, but yeah, that's where it stands at the moment, and that's okay. Moving into more like eyeshadow products. So I have for shadow primers, this is all like base eyeshadow kind of products. I have 7, which I'm shocked about. I did not realize that I had 7, especially considering one of my concealers I am currently using as an eyeshadow primer, and I'm not touching that category at all at the moment. So 7 is insane. Eventually I will work my way through those, but yeah, that's something I think will take some time to work my way through. I don't even know if I like some of these formulas. Like the Flower Beauty one, I've only used maybe a handful of times, maybe twice or 3 times. And the Essence one, I think I used once and I didn't like it on that first impression, but yeah, I really am shocked to see that I have 7 eyeshadow primers. That's not something that I have the desire to buy or to like accumulate. So yeah, that's wild to me. And then when it comes to like more liquid and cream eyeshadows, I also merged in my shadow stick and my glitter liner just because I feel like they don't really fit in anywhere else. I put those all together because they're kind of comparable products. So I have 9 of those more like liquid to cream eyeshadow types of formulas, as well as the glitter liner. This category is totally fine. I'm happy with where it stands right now. I have no desire to see it really grow anymore, especially because I'm not really preferring liquid eyeshadows, because I have come to realize how quickly they do turn and how single purpose they are as well. Like when it comes to my eyeshadows, I can play with metallics and layer them in different ways, but when it comes to the liquid ones, I feel like every time I wear them, I feel like it kind of still looks the exact same, and I'm the kind of person that never really likes to wear the same makeup look twice, to be honest. So yeah, and they're made of tiny particles of plastic that I'm potentially putting into the garbage or running down the drain, and yeah, I'm just not really into that at the moment. Okay, so when it comes to single eyeshadows, on the contrary, that is where I'd rather be kind of adventuring with those fun colors and different kind of finishes. But I already have 41 singles, which is insane. I'm including also my Colourpop Super Shock shadows in this category. So 41 singles, that's quite a lot, but these are all unique shades to my collection. I feel like I'm very particular when it comes to purchasing singles, and I don't tend to purchase colors that I already have in palettes. And so these are all quite unique to my collection. I'm really happy with where this stands. If I'm feeling tempted to purchase new eyeshadow, I will go towards singles for sure for the immediate future, because I don't really want to purchase any more liquid eyeshadows, nor do I really feel the desire to purchase any more eyeshadow palettes. That category is out of hand. And yeah, speaking of that, I have 20 eyeshadow palettes. I feel like that's far more than I personally need. I don't know what happened, honestly, over last year. So in 2018, I accumulated so many eyeshadow palettes. I added so many eyeshadow palettes to my collection, and it's just wild to me that now I have 20 eyeshadow palettes, but I'm having fun with all of them. I don't have any desire to get rid of any of them or anything like that. I am currently panning one, but I'm really happy with the variety that I do have. It just shocks me when I think about having 20 eyeshadow palettes in my collection and wearing makeup 1, maybe 2 times a day. How often can I really get use out of all of those eyeshadows? I do not know, but yeah, as it stands, that's like the max eyeshadow palettes that I want to have. I think next year I wouldn't mind adding maybe like 1 to 2 eyeshadow palettes to my collection, but I just don't see how I'm going to be able to do that with my Pan That palette and my Pan Those eyeshadows. That's really keeping me in check and making sure that I don't actually end up purchasing more shadow palettes. So we'll see if that number ends up going up, but as it stands, it is a huge number, but I am also okay with it. Like, I'm happy with the variety that I do have from that collection of eyeshadow palettes. As for brow products, I actually merged all of my brow products together in one category. I just don't see the point in saying specifically brow gels, brow pomades, brow pencils, all that kind of stuff. I just merged them all together because they all, again, do the same kind of thing. And for that category, I have only 7 products. One of these actually is not something I use as a brow product ever. It's that Joe Fresh brow pen. I use that to do faux freckles in the summertime, and I think I've used it once or twice on my brows, but I just love the way that it looks for faux freckles. The Dip Brow Pomade is not yet opened. It's something that a friend actually gave to me because she didn't have the right shade for it, and I have not yet touched it at all. So I know I can work through my brow pencils and my brow gels. That brow pomade is daunting, and then I have another Essence brow pomade. Those are quite daunting, but I'm okay with this category, especially considering that I do have a variety of different brow finishes and techniques that I can work with in that 7 products. When it comes to liquid and gel eyeliners, I merged these together because I only have the one gel eyeliner and there's 3 altogether. Both of these liquid liners are actually close to done. They're both getting quite dry, and eventually I will replace them with probably a drugstore or a more affordable liquid liner, because a liquid liner is just not an essential for me. I don't tend to wear them very often, and I honestly tend to let them kind of go dry. As long as I can find something that doesn't transfer, because my eyes are hooded and oily, I would be okay with having something that's inexpensive. It doesn't make sense for me to have something that I invest a lot of money into, but those are the ones that I have for the time being. I don't love that gel liner, but I'm gonna keep it for more so like Halloween makeup and that kind of stuff. It's just not something that works all that well. Again, it does transfer on me personally, so yeah, but without getting into too many reviews, let's hop on to the next category, and that is pencil liners. I thought I had more pencil liners than I actually do, because I do have quite a variety of different colors. I have only one black, one nude, and then a bunch of colors, and I have a fun range of colors. Now I only have 12 pencil liners, which might seem like a lot. I think that is more than the average person needs, but I love playing with color in my waterline, so I'm happy with this selection. I do want to work my way through some of those older Colourpop cream gel liners, however, because some of these I've had for like almost 4 years now, so I definitely need to work through those and try to pan a couple of them. But yeah, I'm not feeling like a major sense of urgency with any of these. 2 of the eyeliners are white. They're both in the shade Exit from Colourpop. They're both almost done. When I purchased one, it had like fallen out of the tube, so I sent an email to Colourpop customer service like the day I received it pretty much. It was like already disconnected from the packaging, and they just sent me a new one. This was years ago, like I said, maybe like 3 or 4 years ago, and that's when that was kind of their policy, but now they would just give you like a store credit. So that's why I have 2, because I couldn't get myself to like throw out the other one, because I did figure out that it actually did work just fine. So I didn't require a replacement, but yet I have a replacement, and they're both nearly done because I've just kind of rotated between the 2. I just never really thought about just keeping one as a backup, but yeah, they're both nearly done anyways, and I would like to finish those up because I don't tend to like white in my waterline. It's a little too stark for my personal preferences. And oh, actually, I think we're in the last category already. Oh my gosh, I thought we had more to go. Okay, so the last category is mascara. I have 6 mascaras. Only one of these is unopened at the moment, which is probably bad, but 2 of them are colorful. One is a waterproof that I love using on my lower lash line, and then the other 2 I have been rotating between because I was trying to just exclusively use that Hourglass one, but I put it into my makeup bag for school, like into my backpack. For some reason, when I was doing my makeup one day, I think just as a rush, I thought I grabbed my lipstick, but I actually grabbed like that mini mascara, and I couldn't find it, so I ended up opening up the Milk that had been in my collection waiting to be opened. So now I'm just rotating between the 2 because now I have both of them open, but I oftentimes honestly have like 2 to 3 mascaras open just because I do like the variety. That's actually all of my makeup inventory. All together, I added up everything. I have 271 items in my makeup collection, so that includes the pans of highlighter, but that doesn't include the individual pans of eyeshadow. That just includes that I have 20 eyeshadow palettes. It would be interesting to see the full number of actual independent pieces of makeup, considering that I do have 20 eyeshadow palettes, and I know I have like at least 300 eyeshadow pans in my collection. That number would definitely be like closer to 500 or 600 individual items, which is wild. Like, that's just so crazy to me, and it really does put things into perspective for me that I don't really need to be acquiring any more makeup because I have all the variety that one face could truly ever need. But I do still really have a lot of fun trying out new formulas, playing with makeup, playing with new colors. I am quite adventurous when it comes to my makeup, so I'm not unhappy with that number, and I wouldn't be unhappy to see that number grow by any means, but this really just helps like put me in check a bit, you know? Like, it feels like there's more than enough than I could ever actually attainably use up in my lifetime, and yeah, that is everything for my makeup inventory. Please do not judge me for the amount of makeup that I have. If you feel like it's too much makeup, then just feel like it's too much makeup. You don't have to voice that to me because I know it's a lot of makeup. And if you have any specific questions about any of the items within my collection, definitely leave those down in the comments down below. I'd love to chat with you guys about some of these products and some of your insights on your own makeup collections as well. So yeah, that's absolutely everything for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching and for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys!